Z across LC with your hosts, Jeff Alsman and Cody Zitman.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the A2Z Across LC podcast. Jeff Alsman here. Mike Lemons sitting in for Cody Zitman, who's on assignment again.
If I do one more of these, we're going to have to change that intro.
You're just going to have to take the Cody Zitman title right off of
Jeff
there.
Alsman and Mike Lemons.
Right? Yeah, well, people have been asking for that.
Right. Have they?
That's what you told me.
I haven't been one of them, no.
Good to have you sitting in for Cody, and
Sure.
I know Cody's busy doing lots of things these days. So
That guy, there is no one busier than him.
I think you're right. I really do.
I mean, you think about this. They do a lot of fundraising in athletics, and I was at the hockey game a little over a week ago, and he was there. He was there with the team doing fundraising, and it was a late game. So
and you figure hockey and then soccer, concerts, they're just probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 nights a week.
Not to mention that he's coaching now, and by the way, he's still the athletic director.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got his plate full for sure.
He sure does.
So he's just taking a little bit of time away from the podcast, but he'll be back when we start up our next season, which will be July 1st. He'll get everything behind him and be ready to come back. So all of the Cody followers out there, just be patient.
Yeah. We've got a good show today. Anytime you can steal a second of Dr. T's time to talk about Lewis and Clark stuff, that's good. So we're going to have him on in just a bit to talk about a couple of things. One is the Trailblazer Nation, which is an event happening on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then he's also going to talk about an AI summit.
That's fascinating stuff.
It is. And I think when AI first came out, we sometimes maybe put our head in their sand and went, okay, let's just block people from cheating. It's grown so much more than that, and how we can use AI to run more efficiently, to educate people better. We're just tapping the surface of that, and that summit's getting into it. So.
Well, and I don't know, I can't imagine an industry of any type that it doesn't affect in some way.
Yeah.
It's so universal, and I think maybe sometimes misunderstood. Well, just because of fear, perhaps, or the unknown.
Right, the fear of the unknown, and how much is it going to take over, and robots going to run the world.
That's what everybody thinks when you say
but,
AI.
But if you think about it, there's been a version of AI, in a sense, you do a Google search, and that's really kind of the tip of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so technology has aided and assisted, and yes, there are some drawbacks to technology, and I think trying to get ahead of it and managing how it works, we're probably already a little behind of it globally on what AI can do and what control we take over. But Dr. T is going to be here to talk a little bit about this AI summit that's coming up next week.
I'm fascinated by it. And when I begin to try to think about it, I kind of get brain overload and I just kind of give up.
Yeah. I've used it. I've used it some. We use it some in the classroom to generate some creativity or to think about things in ways that we haven't, which frees us up to do some other things. But it's changing our industry and how we do things. So it's a big learning curve, but it's exciting, and we're only scratching the surface on what AI means to education.
And it'll be interesting at that summit to see some of the ways that it is being used. The more you see it, maybe the better you begin to understand it and maybe back off a bit from some of the fears.
Right. And it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay, and it's going to become more prevalent. So since that's going to be the case, we need to wrap our arms around what this could mean for us.
Yeah. And then a little bit later in the show also, we're going to have a couple of soccer players who weren't able to make it at our last podcast. We've got them rescheduled, so they'll be in to tell us all about the spring season for the women's soccer team. So that'll come your way a little bit.
And our soccer teams are always competitive.
Yes, they are.
Nationally,
yeah. Always, having those district tournaments and always reaching to the final levels, and sometimes just barely falling short of the nationals. And but yeah, you're right. Always right up there with some of the best.
Yep, it's going to be a good show.
All right, well, why don't you take us out? When we come back, we'll have Dr. T as our first guest.
We are?
LC A2Z. Welcome to Lewis and Clark Reed Memorial Library. Let me show you around. We're not just about studying. It's a place to unleash your creativity and connect with others. Grab a snack, sip on some coffee, and dive into a board game or puzzle. Want to make something cool? We've got 3D printers and Cricut machines to bring your ideas to life. And if you need research help, we've got you covered. Whether you're working on a project or just kicking back with friends, the library's got everything you need to succeed and have fun while doing it. Oh, I almost forgot. Books. We've got those too. Whether you're into graphic novels, young adult, sci-fi, or biographies, we've got it all. So whether you're here to study, create, or just relax, the library's got something for everyone. So come on in and make the library your own.
And welcome back to the A2Z Across LC podcast. Jeff Alsman here. Mike Lemons sitting in for Cody Zipman as our co-host today. And Mike, we are joined by the president of Lewis and Clark College, Dr. Ken Trzaska. Welcome. No stranger to our podcast. Good to have you back with us another time.
Always great to see you, Jeff, in this seat. So thank you. And Mike as well. Good to see you, fellows. Thank you.
So you have lots of information to share with us coming up in about, in a few days, on Tuesday. And it's the State of the Trailblazer Nation event where you kind of bring us up to date on where we've been, where we're going, where we've come from, things like that. And I know you want to save all the most important pieces, but maybe you can tease us a little bit and tell us what we might expect.
Sure. So, I typically will kick that off and talk a little bit about just the progress we've made as an institution and never shy away from the vulnerabilities and some of the challenges that we continue to face as an institution. But we're going to, dig into a little bit about our main complex. I mean, some great progress being made there with an accelerated timeline now that we'll announce, next week. The good work that's been going on with our artificial intelligence AI mover team, where we've implemented a policy. We've got some work going on around a guidebook, which is sort of a resource for the team. And it's just an exciting time to bring the campus and the community together to just share the great work going on across those 4 key directions that we have. Talking about the enrollment that we see continuing to strengthen. Some of the good work happening around the competency-based education pathways, which we call PACE. We've added 2 new programs since our last State of Trailblazer Nation. We've got more to come this next year. So just moving the needle on a lot of the really important work they were trying to accomplish at Lewis and Clark. So I'm excited with the progress. It sounds strange, but also excited with how we can handle some of the challenges coming at us as educators, both from an internal perspective and an external perspective. And I never look at those as necessarily negative. I just look at those as opportunities for us to sort of come together as a team, as a mindset, and as a culture, and work through those things.
One of the things I've noticed is that you've always, since I've known you at least, tried to be as transparent as you possibly can. Obviously, there's some things that can't be known at every level in discussions and things like that, but you pretty much just want to keep everybody informed and let people know as much information as they can know. Yeah,
it's absolutely true. I mean, there's about 11 things I'll never share with anyone. No, I think, my style has always been that. I mean, certainly, behind the scenes, there's always sensitive discussions here and there, but at the end of it, I mean, decisions that we're making, directions that we're taking, I think it's important that the team is informed, that the community is informed. And, a very dear friend and former colleague of mine said to me, you can send the message out there, Ken, and then you send it out. And, you don't necessarily have control of how people respond to that. And I think from a transparency perspective, hey, this is it. Lay it on the table. This is where we're focused. This is what's happening. This is the decision that's made. This is why it was made. And, hopefully folks understand that, what's informed that decision is credible and that there's trust. And I trust that there's trust with the team. Therefore, I'm not ever going to shy away from sharing good news, bad news, in-between news. And so I think, too, back to State of Trailblazer Nation, it's about sharing the work that we're doing and sharing the progress and allowing those key direction leads to talk a little bit about some of the work they're doing behind the scenes to sort of nudge the needle on a lot of the work that we're trying to accomplish.
You've been here, 2020, right?
Been here since September of 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And you never know what challenges. You talk about challenges and you don't necessarily see them as negatives, but just opportunities. You've had your fair share of some of those challenges over that time, whether it be, Maiden Complex or cyber attack or some other things that have happened. But you've managed those pretty well. I mean, it's hard to traverse those. You talk a lot about culture. So would you say that it's that culture that helps get us through some of those challenges and move us forward?
I think so. I think, culture is sometimes a nebulous thing too. It's, when people say, well, I'm not, I don't like the culture or I'm not feeling good, I always remind folks, and including myself, that we are the fabric of the culture. So a lot of times we have to look at ourselves first and say, okay, what can I do beyond what I'm currently doing to enhance the culture, to strengthen the culture? And I think when there is a foundation of trust, a foundation of understanding in terms of where we're going and why we're going there. I've always shared the vision of wanting to be the most agile and flexible institution, to be sure students have a remarkable experience at Lewis and Clark. And while those are just words, I think as we lead through our own ways, whether we're on the faculty side of the team or the staff side of the team, keeping those things in mind that, hey, we are supposed to be flexible and agile and make sure our students have this remarkable experience, that's going to show itself in the way it shows itself through the lens of Mike or Jeff or whoever on the team is pushing forward and doing the work. And plus those are things that, Mike, we can't allow. Hey, the main complex is complex, right? No pun intended. It's this beautiful facility that has a history, and with history comes challenges. And so I think now is a matter of, yes, we recognize where we were and some of those challenges, but we've got to move forward and we've got to embrace the opportunities in front of us. And I'm so excited. Last week we had a great meeting with our architects, and just this design is looking phenomenal. It's looking like it should. And when everyone comes into that space or into those new spaces, it's going to be this excitement and this rejuvenation, I think, of the culture, of the directions we're going. You should never let a challenge that may occur to you from right field or left field deter you from that focus, that vision. And I think that's always been kind of how I've been wired. And who knows, other things could come up in the future, and that's just the nature of the work. But we have to focus on why we're here and who we're here for. And I think when we do that, the other stuff sort of finds its resolution, in sort of the processes that we have, if that makes sense. So.
You mentioned the word flexibility, and it seems like across the nation, whether it's 4-year universities or 2-year colleges, really just secondary education in general is in a changing landscape right now, whether it be with education and the way the directions, the new opportunities there, or the financial impact, things like that. It's kind of a changing time that you're operating in right now.
It really is.
He's still a little smile.
I will never shy away from, and I'll say it, at our state of Trailblazer Nation. While I'm tremendous, I have a tremendous amount of optimism, and I kind of lean into these challenges, perhaps a little more, or lean into these opportunities, perhaps a little more than some others might, in similar roles as mine, and we've got to take a hard look at not so much where we've been, but where we're going, and understanding that from a financial perspective. The state is looking at it through a different lens now. There are challenges there from a financial perspective. Certainly, we don't want to put any additional pressures or expectations on our local taxpayer. I think, we do a good job with what we have, and I'm not saying that we're never going to sort of quote unquote need more, but that needing more has to be framed in a very strategic and meaningful way in terms of how that serves our students, how that serves our team, and doing the work better. We can have some great vision and direction, but it's also how do we tether those resources around folks so that they have the support systems to do what they want to do. And then, of course, our students, we depend on our students to be here. But we can't just assume that students will just show up because we're Lewis and Clark. We have to continue to rethink and refine and refocus, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, when we do it, where we do it, and in terms of the access and flexibility piece. But I think, to your point, Jeff, is we can't just be comfortable, and that's the piece that, from my perspective, I think even the transparency element is a matter of always keeping things out in front of folks so they don't take things for granted. If that makes sense, it's like, this is happening. This is why it's happening. So, but yeah, great things ahead always, and we just have to embrace those opportunities as they come.
You mentioned about funding changing and the state looking at it differently and not trying to put too much on local taxpayers. I think sometimes people might lose track of the economic driver that Lewis and Clark is for the community too, and what it would mean, to this community if we weren't around. Yeah. And I think that would be, a pretty big hit. But, luckily there have been some things going. Not luckily, it's happened by hard work, but enrollment's ticking up, and there's things that are to be pretty positive about.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I often sort of joke, if you close your eyes and imagine Lewis and Clark isn't there, hundreds and hundreds of employees, thousands of students, that depend on us. And so it's our responsibility as leaders, as team members, across the board to continue to sort of lift the institution up in a positive direction and facilitate the work forward in ways that's meaningful to them. I think that's the beauty of working in education, is you have that autonomy to really be creative and seek out those innovative solutions to not only challenge yourselves, but challenge the institution to move forward. But absolutely, the jobs, the connections we have, Mike, with workforce, it's critical, and they depend on us. If a company like a Veland or a Phillips 66 says, hey, we need some help with this particular training or with this particular challenge, knowing that they look at us as an opportunity or an option to support that is very meaningful. And if we weren't here, what would that mean for those organizations as well?
You mentioned creativity and innovation, and you have another event right on the heels of the State of Trailblazer Nation that talks about AI. Let's take a break. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll give you an opportunity to tell folks about that, the AI Summit that's right around the corner. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back with more from Dr. T.
We are
LC A to Z.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been a process operator. Yeah, my path could have been in graphic design.
Welcome back to the A to Z Across LC podcast. Mike Lemons is here. I'm Jeff Alsman. Dr. T, the president of Lewis and Clark, is with us as well, and we have an exciting event. You hear a lot about AI, and sometimes it scares people. Some people embrace it. Some people may not know what it is, but you have a summit that's kind of probably going to cover lots of those different things. Coming right up on Tuesday.
Yeah, sure. So the summit piggybacks our State of Trailblazer Nation, starts at 2:15, right after our State of Trailblazer Nation. And it's exciting. This is really a culmination of the work that's been done by our AI mover team. Our mover teams are sort of this concept of bringing a cross-section of team members together to participate in engaging around a challenge or an opportunity we have as an institution. And like all institutions, AI is here. It's sort of in the room with us, and whether we like it or not. And I'm excited because we've been able to get some really good work done this last year with a policy, with work around a guidebook, and there's some additional discussion around making sure we continue to wrap resources around the AI work. So, if you and Mike were like, hey, there's this really great AI, summit and how AI affects broadcasting, I would love for you to go and bring that back to the campus and help it enhance the work you do. So really excited on this for a couple of other reasons. So Dr. Klein Namuo, who's the president of Joliet Junior College, is going to speak a little bit and introduce what he showed me as CyberKlein. So it's a AI version of him as president.
Oh, wow.
and just going to share some of the good work that's happening at Joliet Junior College, how they've started to sort of incorporate AI practice into their work. And then Dr. Joe Licata, who is the founder and CEO of Canyon GBS, will be delivering the keynote that day. So about a 10 or a 15-minute sort of introduction. They do a lot of really remarkable work around AI in education. And of course, when I heard they also are doing some infrastructure work behind the scenes and how AI affects platforms like competency-based education, they had me hooked. So really happy to have Joe and Klein there as well. We're going to have a panel. So we have, myself, Ron, we have Ryan. The three of us have been sort of leading, mostly Ryan and Ron, this AI mover team. They're going to talk a little bit about what they've been experiencing with AI, and then some of the members of our mover team will share some of their experiences as well. At the end of it, we're going to have a little bit of a panel for some Q&A, and then hopefully this becomes an annual thing that continues to grow. But community members will be invited, and of course, team members are obviously invited as well.
So have you been beta testing the AIT?
Not yet, but I think
I would like input on that. I would like to view and go, nope, this is off.
Yeah. So you ask me any question, and then you're gonna, he won't be as transparent as I will. I'm sure. No, listen.
You talked about how competency-based education. You said you were hooked. I think we could mix ditch digging and competency-based education, and you get excited about it. But there have been a lot of movement towards that. But even with AI, AI in the classroom, the initial thought was, okay, we got to fight against it, and we got to make sure students. Yeah. We incorporate it a lot already in the things that we do now, and we're only scratching the surface of the things that it can do. We use it a lot as an idea generator. Yeah. Like, let's get an idea. Now let's expand from what AI helped us go with to do something completely different. So it's freeing us up to do other things creatively because it's there. So I'm sure a lot of those things will be addressed.
100%, Mike. I think, it's one of those things where, AI is here and it's not going anywhere. It's kind of like going to a family picnic. I wonder if Uncle Joe is going to be there. Uncle Joe's going to be there, and you got to deal with it, right? AI's here, and we got to deal with it. But I think dealing with it is how we define that, right? Is like you said, Mike. How do we incorporate it into the teaching and learning focus of the institution? How do we incorporate it into the administrative focus? How do we, how could myself or somebody like Mary on the finance side? How can we leverage AI to help us look at a financial model? I think there's always going to have to be the human touch and the human sort of oversight of that. But like you said, it's prompting. Like, hey, okay, take this, and could you model this out to let us know what we might need to look for or what we're missing? And I think you then sort of take all of that information and you make that decision as the leader of the institution. But you look at AI as a partner, and I think that's where. I would like us as an institution to really begin looking at AI through that lens of a partnership with artificial intelligence, which could complement, I think, the work that we have to do as leaders. And then I think that's the same thing with the student.
So again, you say the community is invited. It starts at 4:00. What?
No, the State of Trailblazer Nation goes 1 to 2, and then 2:15 to 3:15 is the AI Summit.
Okay, and the community is invited to
absolutely, yeah. So that's already been kicked out to community.
This is on Tuesday.
This is on Tuesday. Yep,
in the auditorium.
In the auditorium, and there will be a virtual option as well. So folks, that link will go out. So if you can't be there in person, that's totally cool. But we'd love to have you be a participant.
Thanks for being with us. We know your time is always. People are always wanting it, so we are.
I'm just going to use AI. You can talk to the AI Ken, and he'll answer all your questions. Yes. No, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure talking to both of you.
All right, we'll take another break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to some soccer players from the women's soccer team.
Good. We are
LC A2Z.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been a welder. Or I could have chosen business.
And welcome back to the A to Z Across LC podcast. Jeff Alsman here, Mike Lemon sitting in for Cody Zipman today. And we're joined now by two members of the women's soccer team. We have Irene Ruiz and Maddy Kuhn, who are both defenders. One is a freshman, one is a sophomore. We'll let them kind of tell their story beyond that. So, ladies, welcome to the A to Z podcast.
Thank you.
So my first question is, how is it to play for JB, Justin Brunet?
I like it a lot.
Yeah?
And I think it's a lot kind of like my club coach at home. So
Very
kind of
cool.
carried on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Like his personality matches a lot with what I like in a coach. So
And I even told them right before that they could talk smack on you if they wanted.
Yeah,
They
you
didn't.
did. You gave them
said, "Feel
quite a
free."
bit of latitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't.
So
that's good.
that just really shows a high level of respect and admiration for the coach.
Yeah.
So you guys just finished off your spring season, correct?
Yes.
And how did that go?
I think it went better than expected, like that most people thought on our team would. So
yeah, I think the same. Like, of course, the first games are like more difficult because you are like started to get into it again. But at the end, like we have a good team.
So you guys, what, 5 games, half dozen games, 6 games or so, or is it more than that?
you can only play 6.
Play 6.
Yes.
Okay. And do you feel that really, what do you implement in that spring schedule? Do you try anything new? Is it just to go over basics? I mean, what do you achieve when you're doing that spring schedule?
I think it's just kind of for us to play together, like off season, just to have fun and like we're all competitive, so we want to win.
yeah. Also for our coach is like to try new things and like see if like maybe players that didn't get that many minutes during the season can play more and get used to it.
Do the freshmen get an extra bit of time then too, or?
Yes, I feel like it kind of depends on the game too, kind of what we can try new and what we can.
So it's still
Just play.
competitive. You
Yes.
still
Yeah.
play to win. It's not
Yes.
just a practice session or like an extra game where we can let folks work on things. It's still very competitive.
Yes, and I think a lot of people on our team are competitive, and it just adds on to that.
Yeah, we also play against like better teams to say it somehow, like NCAA, and so
Speaking of better teams, and I wouldn't say better. It's just you guys lost your last game of the year last year to a pretty tough Iowa Western team, correct?
Yes.
Who went, I think, all the way to the semifinals in JCAA.
They're always good, aren't they?
They're always
Yeah, that's
good,
what I thought,
right?
yeah.
I mean, they're a powerhouse every year, but you guys played them tough. 4-2, I think the final was. Tell us about that game, or just the season in general. And yeah, you bowed out, but you bowed out to a pretty good team.
I think they were like scared to play us in the finals because in the middle of the season we tied them 1-1, and they kind of weren't expecting that at all. So I think they were scared for the regional final.
Well, your reputation, I mean, our women's soccer team has always been pretty good. So,
I was going to say, yes, definitely has some history there for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
7-6-1 record, I think, on the season.
I think so.
Yeah. What about that 7-6 record would people not understand? Meaning that 7-6 seems about 500, but by all indications, you guys seem to play better than 500. So, what would you say about that?
I think like we have a way better team that we saw this season, and we have very good players. We just needed to work more as a team, and I think that's the only thing because we had a very good team this year.
I think 3 out of 4 of those games that we lost, we dominated the games. We
Yeah,
just got unlucky
Sometimes
with
just
it.
a bounce here or there,
Yes.
hitting a crossbar and,
Yeah.
instead of the on goal, and you never know. Little
Yes.
things like that can make a lot of difference. So I want to ask you about your background. And we're going to start with Irene because obviously you have a very distinct dialect, which tells me you're probably not from around here naturally. Am I right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. How did you
So-
get here?
I'm one of the international students here, and I'm from Madrid, Spain. And I came here for high school, my senior year, to play soccer. And then I just stayed for college, just because I think it gets to a point in Spain where you cannot, like you can, but it's very difficult to combine both sports and studies at the same time. So here you have like a better opportunity.
So before we move to Maddy, tell us just a little bit about the challenges that an international student faces that an American student doesn't have to face? What people probably don't really know that.
I think it's mostly the language. Like the first time you get here, but you get used to it fast, and then of course you're alone, like you're not with your family. So yes, you have friends and like a lot of people that are with you all the time, but not having your family is probably like the biggest thing.
So the team becomes your family, and then the rest of the new friends that you make, and quite an adjustment, I would think, especially at a young age like you ladies are.
Yeah.
So you've been here for 2 years. Then you're moving on after here. What's the next for you?
I'm going to Central Methodist University, that is like 30 minutes away from Columbia, Missouri, and I think it's gonna be very good. It's like a different thing because here it's only 2 years, so girls there have been playing together for 4 years maybe, and we'll see how it goes.
So it's like you have to start all over again and make another new family when you move along.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting used to it now. So.
Maddy, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your background.
I live in O'Fallon, Missouri, and I went to high school there, grew up there, and Justin recruited me in Florida, so that's how I got
Was that like
Florida?
a camp or something? Or?
It was like a regional showcase, so it's weird how we met down there and we live 45 minutes away from each other, but
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes.
Were you aware of Lewis and Clark before he came calling?
a little bit. My coaches kind of said some stuff about it, but I kind of like threw it off my shoulder and didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
So you're back for next season. Do you have some idea what the team might look like next year? Is it too early to be able to give some type of an idea of how the team will look?
Yeah, I think it'll be completely different, but I mean our playing style altogether, and I think we'll still be pretty good. I mean, it's hard to tell though until the first day when all the girls come in together and finally get to play together.
So I'm assuming that most of the incoming freshmen have already been recruited.
Yes.
And have already signed an intent to come here.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to meet any of those? I mean, I'm surely on tours and things like that, but have you got to know them?
I've seen like 2 or 3 Americans that are coming, but nothing else, no.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we often do with the student athletes when they're here on the podcast is kind of put them on the spot. Cody lots of times will play like a game. We're not going to do that. But what I'm curious about is you're both defenders. So what I'd like to do is have you each talk about the other and tell us about your strengths and weaknesses as if you were opponents, just to kind of make a little fun thing out of it. Could you score on her easily?
No.
Okay, well there you go. So she's a pretty good defender.
Well, here I've got a question I'll ask him because you both play defense, but you both have goals on the year. You both have scored goals. Do you know how many goals she scored, and do you know how many goals that she scored? This is what I pulled off the NJCAA website, so hopefully it's factual. Do you know how many goals you scored this year? No?
No.
So it'd be hard for you to guess one another's goals. So I have you down as having...
Is it only this year?
This year, yeah.
Okay.
You've scored so many, you've lost count, right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, who is your top goal scorer on the team?
Alessia,
Yeah, probably Alessia.
Yeah.
over 9.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's not real common for defenders to score, though, right? I mean,
No.
that's unusual.
Not really.
Well, I have you down for 2 and 3. One of you had 2 and the other had 3, according to NJCAA.
Oh, they're both giving
don't
you a
think
look
so.
like,
No,
that
that-
doesn't sound right.
Well,
I don't
then-
think I have scored this season.
Oh, wait. Here, according to the NJCAA website, you had 2, so I would just run with it.
You've
Yeah.
gotten credit
Yeah.
for a
I got
couple.
2,
Take
yeah.
them.
I had 3.
That's what it said.
You sure
Okay.
you weren't looking at shots on goal?
I may have. I don't know. Who knows? I could be wrong on what I found, but no, it seemed. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool being from the defensive end.
Yeah.
So is it being defenders? You must enjoy that position. I would think not that I'm going to get out there and run around by any means, but if I were, I would think I would want to be one of the attackers. The shots on goal and make the passes and stuff. And is it tougher to be a defender than it is to be a front line player? Or?
I think like I get it from both the perspectives. Like I can defend and I also am allowed to go up and attack. And I like that part about it because you can do both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this season I played mostly center back, so you don't really go up. But I used to play as a fullback last year, and you get up too. So that's a good part. Like obviously, it's fun to score and like give assists and everything. But if you don't have a defense,
Right.
Yeah, you know, you can score 4 goals and lose 10-4 real quickly.
Yes.
So, yeah. Pardon me. So what about the future? We know where you're going to go, but academically, what do you plan to do through school, and then where do you hope to go after that, career-wise?
So I'm going for media communication.
Oh,
so like,
there you go.
Yeah.
So
like
good
every type
practice
of like,
for you.
visual arts or everything. I love that. And after that, we'll see. Like I like everything in that field. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking to major in elementary education.
Both of which, I mean, I run media and my wife teaches kindergartner, so that's
You could just
very cool.
adopt both of them.
I
and be
guess I
like
could.
family. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we wish you would have come and played around in our studios. We like to have fun here. Thank you guys so much for coming. Hope you've enjoyed it. You guys do a lot of fundraising, which I know can be taxing at times because Cody wants to go everywhere. But you guys have got to do a lot of city stuff, right? St. Louis city stuff.
Yes.
Is that pretty cool? You're not getting to hang out with the players or anything, but I mean, this is a different level of soccer that you get to see up close.
Yes, and just walking around, kind of just the atmosphere with all like the fans and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Like the fans of the city team, they're like
Crazy.
probably the best ones in the MLS. So it's pretty cool to like see it on the field and like, yes.
I've
see
only
how
been to
they
2 of
cheer.
them, but they're pretty intense.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do either of you have any aspirations at all of ever someday being on a professional soccer field playing?
I probably won't. I think after here, I'll just transfer on to a 4-year college and be done then.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if I can, yes, I'm not gonna say no, but it's not something that I have always like.
Now, women's
think
professional
about.
soccer is now starting to take hold.
Yeah.
There's even national broadcast networks that are pulling into this newer women's soccer league that hopefully that takes off.
Yeah, yeah.
For years, the women's Olympic team was more popular than the men's.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, it's a fun game to watch. I'd have to play goalie if I was going to be out there, but too much running for me. But love watching it, and thanks for being here. Continued success next year for you with our program, and certainly as you move on to your next phase, lots of good luck wished your way as well. And just thanks for taking some time to be in here with us today and talking to us.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you so much.
So that's going to do it for our podcast today. We're going to let these ladies take us out for the final time.
We are
LC.